guys, it's Sunday. I'm over here at the 07. Little update on it. So I was not able to get another cam yet, so I still have the original cam right here. I did get a brand new set of LS7 lifters, so they're here. Other than that, I pretty much have everything. The pistons and rods here are not included. Like everything else here is pretty much everything I need. I am going to have to get some hose to run from the intercooler to the heat exchanger and to the pump and to the fill neck and all that. But I've got like 95% of the stuff I need to do the 07. So now all I've got to do is finish getting this thing apart. And then once I get this oil pan off and this cam and stuff out, then this will be ready to clean up and start going back together. But today, I came and I got all my gaskets and the boost gauge and a few other little things. It's for the 97. I'm grabbing this blower and I'm going to end up pulling the snout off, pulling the blower off the car and pulling that snout off and swapping the snout, putting in the new coupler and the new supercharger oil, and hopefully doing all this top end gaskets. So I'm just grabbing all these parts I'm going to need so I can go back over to the house and start getting this stuff swapped around. So y'all stay tuned. I'll give you guys another update here in just a little bit. Hey YouTube, alright, so I'm back over at the house. I've got the hood pop. I'm about to start tearing this thing apart. So you seen I had to change that metal pulley the other day. So now I'm about to get all this, pull all this apart. I'm going to end up changing this whole coil pack bracket with the dog bone mount to the one off the 06. Pretty much going to take everything I've painted red. The only thing I can't really change today is the timing cover and the timing set, and that's just, it's a lot of extra shit, and I've only got a few hours until it gets dark. So for today, I'm at least going to probably take this bracket that's red, this I've painted red, the supercharger, the alternator bracket, the new coolant elbows, maybe the balancer, not for sure yet, the valve covers, gaskets, lower intake manifold. Like a lot of stuff's getting, like the whole top end's going to get new gaskets, but a lot of this stuff's going to get swapped around with stuff from the 06, because it's still just sitting here chilling, and I could use it. So I've got this bracket with the tensioner for the alternator. I've got the idler, which I just stole that actual pulley off of, which won't be anything to swap that back around. It's just 3 bolts. And so yeah, that's pretty much the only things I can really take off the engine that's still in the bay, which that I just got to disconnect a couple of heater hoses and that's off. And then this is just 3 10mm bolts. And the only other thing I have left that's painted is the timing cover, and that's just a lot of bullshit getting that off, especially with it in the car. And it's not really that big of a deal to me. But I do want to take the parts I've already painted red just to make this one look a little nicer. So I'm going to end up grabbing those couple things. And then I've got a lot of this back here in the trunk of the 06. See, there's the other balancer. Here's the coolant elbows with a crank sensor. I have a water pump with a couple new gaskets. I think all the rest of the stuff is in the shed that I've pulled off. And here I've got all the belts, supercharger and main belts. So it's going to be a pretty good, eventful, exciting day. And then yeah, so say we've already took my daughter, we went out to the park, played at the park for a little while, went and got ice cream. Now she's inside watching her phone, watching YouTube. So I'm about to start digging into this thing. I'm going to let it cool off for a few more minutes. And while I got that cooling off, I'm probably going to go ahead and pull this snout off this blower and brake clean the fuck out of it, get it all nice and clean. Get the new coupler set in here. Actually, I'll probably wait until I have the blower off the 97, because I want to pull both of them apart, and then I want to look at both sets of rotors to see which one's better. And that's the rotors I'm going to use. And then I'm using the snout off of the one that's still on the car, because it has the smaller pulley and not the 3/8 pulley. But yeah, other than that, I mean, this is a pretty clean. I mean, it's got some gunk in there. It's not the cleanest. I've cleaned it up a little bit, but not much. I pretty much just wanted to leave it how it was and just paint it, make it look nice, nicer, and just throw it on the car. So, but I've got all my gaskets and everything right here. I've got head bolts. Right in here I have another throttle body gasket. I have an extra supercharger gasket just in case I end up needing another one. And then I got this whole gasket kit. And it's got the head gasket, supercharger gaskets, lower intake manifold, like everything, valve cover gaskets, injector O-rings. Here's the new supercharger oil and the new coupler. It's all for the supercharger. Got a new 180 thermostat, brand new from ZZP. Got the new coolant O-rings for under the supercharger. It's another set of head bolts. Yeah, made in China head bolts. But I don't know if I'm even pulling the heads off. I'm not for sure. Still haven't really decided yet. But it's getting there. So, but yeah, I'm about to start pulling this thing apart. I got to get some tools out with the trunk of the 06 and get out my tin. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this snout off here, and I'll keep you guys updated, so stay tuned. Alright, you guys, so I started getting this thing torn apart, and I just pulled the fuel rail. Look how disgusting these injectors look. Ugh. And there is grass and sticks and acorn and just gunk. So yeah, all this is definitely coming off and getting changed out. So I just want to show you guys the progress as I go. That was like a solid wall. I don't even want to mess with it yet because I don't want it to fall down into the cylinder, but it's coming apart. So I'm probably going to grab the shop vac and try to vacuum all this shit up before I start tearing it apart anymore. At least on this lower intake manifold. I'll probably pull a supercharger off. But yeah, I just want to give you guys a little update. So y'all stay tuned. I'll keep you updated. Alright, y'all. So I got the supercharger off. You can see just all this nasty gunk just everywhere. And got a lot of gasket material that stayed on the lower. But I got brand new O-rings for here. Got all brand new gaskets. So I'm just going to keep... Well, first I'm going to vacuum all this crap out. And then I'm going to pull the lower intake manifold off. Which means I'm going to have to undo this EGR. I got to undo that tube. And from there. And then once I get the lower intake manifold undone, if all that's removed, then this will just slide. And I can get that coolant elbow off. Which don't matter. All that's coming off anyways. But just one step at a time. So I've got the supercharger off. It's right here. And as you can see, the rotors on this one look much better, and then have all its coating, but it looks much better than this one here. Big chunks of coating gone, and that's the one off that Buick. So I mean, really the inside of this doesn't look too horrible, but the gasket was definitely trashed. But either way, I'm gonna have to pull this one apart one way or another to do the coupler. But I mean, shit, it's going really good. So I'm happy with it. So yeah, I'm gonna keep getting this thing pulled apart and get that one all nice and cleaned up. And go from there. So y'all stay tuned, I'll keep you updated. Alright, you guys, so I ended up got the snout off of the original Supercharger off the 97, and it already had a replacement coupler in there, but it just fell right off. So I don't know what's up with that. Maybe it was a little worn out, and it didn't seem like it had very much oil in it. And I mean, I didn't pull the drain plug off the snout. I just unbolted the snout and popped the snout off, and it just came right off. It wasn't really even sealed. So I think that's why it was leaking. I don't know why it was low boost pressure though. I mean, I guess the Supercharger gasket was a little fucked up. I still need to vacuum this, but I mean, it's coming together. Well, at least this come apart. Now I've just got to pull these rotors out and then clean up both the mating surfaces so I can get some anaerobic grease on here, or RTV, depends on how much grease I have. And I have some needle bearing grease for the needle bearings in there. So yeah, I've just got to pretty much finish swapping this stuff around and get the Supercharger all bolted back together and sealed up, get the new oil and new coupler in there, and then that way I can finish tearing all this apart. I gotta get this lower intake manifold off and get everything all cleaned up so I can get the new gaskets on there and new coolant elbows. At least this one for now, even if I really want to change all this stuff and just get it done. But I mean, at the same time, I have to go to work tomorrow, so gotta have this thing running and driving again back by tonight. So I probably am going to swap out this bracket and the coils and ICM, and I've already got it all disconnected, so it's just held on by one 15mm bolt on this stud, or one 15mm nut, I mean. Yeah, so I just got to get that one nut off there, off that stud, and then this whole bracket will slide off after I undo this dog bone mount. And then I already have the other one painted red with the MSDs on there. I can just slide it on there, tighten that nut back down, and it's ready to go back together. Also, I am going to, while I have it apart, I'm going to do the valve cover gaskets, front and rear, so, and all these little grommets that are on there. It looks like someone did the rear. It's got some blue grommets. So maybe someone did the rear valve cover gasket and never did the front one, because it looks like it's still leaking. God, that just looks so disgusting. But it's definitely all torn apart. I've got to replace all these injector O-rings and clean up all the injectors. I'm probably going to have to go get another can of brake cleaner, and I can't even go anywhere because the car is torn apart. So, yeah. But I don't know, I'll make it work. I'll get it done as best I can. I definitely got to change all those O-rings though. Don't mind that. That's just some NA gasket and shit that was just in my tool bag. But it's definitely getting there. So y'all stay tuned and I'll keep you guys updated. Alright, you guys. So I used the needle bearing grease, and I put a little bit of grease in the bearings and a little bit on the end of the rotors itself, and smeared it around. I made sure to use a blue glove, latex glove, so I didn't get the needle bearing grease straight on my skin. I didn't have any of the anaerobic grease to seal the rotors into the housing and to seal on the snout. Come to find out, it did already have a coupler, but it just slid right off. So I've got this nice new ZZP one, and got the snout all nice and clean, got all the dirt off of it, wiped it all off. So now I just gotta seal this up, stick this back on, get all the bolts back in, so right there, torque them down, and then add the oil, and the supercharger is pretty much good to go. So it's getting there, it's coming along. I'm using a red RTV gasket maker, high temp. So that's what I'm using. It's going back together. So now I just got to clean up this mating surface and clean up this mating surface a little bit more, and then they'll be good to throw some RTV on there and get it back together. So y'all stay tuned, I keep you guys updated. Yeah, this is the inside of the old Supercharger. Not too bad, not too dirty. The rotors themselves looked really clean, really nice. This is actually a really nice Supercharger. I don't think there was any problems with the blower itself, except for maybe it was low on oil, because somebody had already put a replacement coupler in it. So, but we got this thing, it's going back together. So alright YouTube, so I've got the lower intake manifold off. I've got to pull these old gaskets off. They're gunked. I mean, they don't look super horrible, but they don't look great either. They're definitely old. So I've got the rear valve cover off. I gotta still get this bracket off so I can get the front valve cover off. There's the new gaskets. So I'm about to get all this cleaned up and start getting everything put back together. I'm going to go ahead and change out this plastic coolant elbow for now. I'm also going to have to go get oil and oil filter, because all the antifreeze out of the lower dumped in right here in the lifter valley. So now the oil pan is going to have a shit ton of antifreeze in it. So yeah, I'm definitely going to have to drain the oil and do an oil change. But making progress. So I've got the Supercharger all back together. So just need some oil and it'll be good to go. So y'all stay tuned, I'll keep you guys updated. Alright y'all, so I've got my new lower intake manifold gaskets set in place. Now I just got to RTV all four corners. I still have to, I've got the lower intake manifolds over here soaking in some degreaser. I still got to spray it down, get as clean as I can before it goes back together. So I'm probably about to spray this thing down and let it dry off. I got to get the end of that old coolant elbow out of there because it broke off. So I got to get that out of that hole for the coolant elbow, and then this thing can start going back together. So y'all stay tuned, I'll keep you updated. Alright y'all, so I've got the lower intake manifold set back on here. I've got my RTV in each corner. Whenever I was washing out and washing off the lower intake manifold, I accidentally broke the coolant temp sensor. It's around here somewhere, but yeah, I broke it. So I have to get another coolant temp sensor off out of the shed from the 06. So yeah, now I've just got to RTV these lower intake manifold bolts and get them started back in here so I can torque them all down. But I want to get every one of them started before I start torquing any down. so I don't have any issues. Then I got to get my new coolant O-rings on right here. And I can set on the supercharger gasket and get this other supercharger on there. And I just got to fill it up with the oil. But man, it's coming along. So y'all stay tuned. I'll keep you guys updated. Alright, y'all. So I've got the supercharger back on and torqued down to 20 foot-pounds. The spec was saying 17 and another page was saying 19. So I just went with 20 foot-pounds and just made it a rounded off number. And she on there. It's on there. I've also did the rear valve cover and just swapped it with the one off the 06 and did the valve cover gasket and the O-rings. I still got to swap the front one and swap this whole coil bracket, but I just haven't got there yet. I've still got to do the injector O-rings and clean up the injectors because they're fucking trashed. And so I got to get that done before I can get the fuel rail back on. But I've got the new coupler in. We tried to clean up as much of the RTV as we could, make it not as noticeable, but I really don't care. I'm really happy with it. So I can't wait to get this thing back all together. So I know everything's all nice and greased up, so now it's just running vacuum lines and get the belt on and just hooking the wiring back up and just some easy shit. So y'all stay tuned. I'll keep you guys updated. Hey guys, okay, so my sound's working on my phone again. But so last night I got this all done. Everything is good. It's running good. The only problem is I still got to do the oil change because it got milky AF in there. So I'm gonna have to go to Walmart today. I'm gonna have to get 2 things of oil and 2 filters. I'm just gonna have to drain this oil, do an oil change, drive it around, and do another oil change. But y'all stay tuned and keep you updated. Hey guys, alright, it's the next day. It's Monday morning. I had to call in today. So I still gotta drain the oil and do the oil change. Went and got 2 jugs of oil and 2 filters so I can do an oil change, run it for a little bit to clean all that antifreeze and shit out, and then do another oil change to kind of flush it. So I'm about to get in the trunk of the 06. I gotta get the jack out of here. It's buried under the tools. And then I'm also gonna swap this front valve cover today and this coil pack bracket to the nice painted up red one. So shouldn't be too much. It'll be some easy shit. But yeah, I definitely need to swap out this front valve cover with that other one, do that valve cover gasket. So I'm just gonna get this thing finished up today, and so I'm gonna keep you guys updated as I go, so y'all stay tuned. Alright you guys, so I've got the front valve cover swapped around, got the coil pack bracket swapped around, got the belt back on, I'm draining the oil. I had to pour a little bit of fresh oil in there to kind of help rinse it out. It's still dripping, draining out, so I'm just gonna keep letting it drip and drip until it's done. Get the bolt back in, swap the filter, fill it up, let it run for a little bit, and then I'm probably gonna just drain it out again and swap the filter again. And the oil, I got 2 things of oil, 2 filters. So, but it's pretty close. It does fire right up and it runs really good. It was just the oil and had the antifreeze in it from when I pulled the lower intake manifold off. So, but it's getting there. Made lots of progress between yesterday and today. So y'all stay tuned. I'll keep you guys updated. Alright y'all, so I just got the oil filter changed out. You can see that's still barely dripping over there. I got the old K&N off and sprayed it all out. Sprayed out the housing with some brake cleaner. And yeah, you can just see how nasty that shit looks. But got the oil filter swapped out, so now I just gotta put this drain plug in and get it tightened down, and then I can go ahead and fill her up with oil and let it run and kind of rinse all that old nasty shit out, and then do this again. So y'all stay tuned, I'll keep you updated. Alright, so she running. Not seeing any milky. I definitely see oil in there, not antifreeze now. That's good. Seems like it's missing a little bit. No codes.
See what the dipstick looks like.
Yeah.
Here you go.
right, sexy man, if you want to hit it again. I'm going to go back inside.
Okay.
What's that called, CJ?
What?
Your.
Alright. Well, don't look too bad. Let me set you down. Alright, well, yeah, it's still a little milky, so I'm definitely going to have to change the oil again, but probably going to lower it down off the jack stands and set it on the ground and just let it idle and warm up and get up to operating temp and go from there. But it did kind of sound like it was misfiring a little bit, so I know I did just swap out this coil or this bracket, and it's painted, and there's this ground wire down here on the bottom that sandwiches behind this bar right here, and I seem to have an issue with the 06 misfiring also, and it was running very well before I just swapped this bracket around earlier when I did the valve cover. So that could be the issue, is maybe that still just has a little too much paint on it. It's not getting a good connection. Not for sure. I don't know. Could also be this coil. I don't know. I just bought that off Facebook, so. But I don't know. I'll keep you guys updated. Hey YouTube. Okay, so I've been working on this thing all fucking day today. And so I got all this swapped around. It was misfiring. And then come to find out, this injector plug wasn't clipped all the way in. And it was running like shit. I clipped that on and it immediately started running smooth as fuck. It runs great. But now, my problem is whenever I put it in gear to go, now it's throwing a code for the transmission, the torque converter clutch sensor, and so I remember that, you know, all these wires have been chewed through, and so now I'm trying to get these wired back together, and it's a pain because I've got some different colored, like I've got 2 purples, I've got 2 browns, 2 whites, I got 3 greens with a white line, 2 solid greens. Like there's just a bunch of a random color. I got 2 blacks with a white line. So I just got a bunch of the same colored wires, and I'm trying to reconnect all these. So that's the only other thing I can think of is this wiring here. And then so pretty much this whole harness right here was chewed through off of that. And then I've got the 2 wires on this one that go from this yellow one and this black one, and they go like to right on the bottom side of this with the rest of those wires. So I just gotta reconnect all these, reconnect those couple, and then hopefully that'll solve this issue. So, but other than that, everything's working good. It was running really good. It's just not wanting to go now. So, shit, y'all stay tuned. I'll keep you guys updated. Alright, y'all. Well, it's the next day. It's Tuesday morning. So I'm headed to work. Car seems to be driving okay. After wiring up all those wires on the ECU, now my fans kick on. My service engine soon light comes on now. So yeah, everything seems to be working great now. Now it hits full boost. So that's good. But yeah, I'm just on my way to work, so. Well, y'all stay tuned. I keep you guys updated whenever I get off work today. Alright, you guys, so it's later on tonight. It's Tuesday night. I just got off work about 10-15 minutes ago, and I'm on the highway right now. I'm in traffic, but just a minute ago, I mean, dude, it's doing way better than it was. Like, the service engine soon lights on, so at least now it's working. I'm still getting a code now for the coolant temp sensor because I broke it, so I went and I bought a brand new one from AutoZone earlier, and I also bought the Haynes manual book so I can look up the wiring diagram for the ECM to make sure I get those 3 green wires with the white line hooked up to the correct one, because I've got them all hooked up, but it's also throwing a code for the 5 volt reference signal, and we ran the code. It was P1635 or 1653, something like that. But the guy at AutoZone looked it up and said it was for the ECM is shorted out or not sending a signal. So I think I've got one of those green wires backwards or hooked up to the wrong one. So I'm gonna use the book, look up the wiring diagram, make sure everything's right, and go from there. But I mean, I've got full boost back. I mean, it's been doing really good, so. Up and goes now. You see my heads-up display. I love that. I know I can't get over it. I love it. I'm gonna have to put that in both the other Grand Prix. I'm getting 16 miles a gallon. I finally got all that milky shit flushed out. After doing 3 oil changes, everything's flushed. Oil looks nice and clean. I reset my oil life to 100%. And right now my coolant temp isn't working because the sensor's broke. So I've got to get that new sensor put in. But this morning, whenever I started the car up, the fucking fans kicked on and it was making a knocking noise because the fan's rubbing on the radiator. I immediately shut it off and then popped the hood and got back out. You know, started back up and got back out. And it happened again, and sure enough, the fan was rubbing. So I just unplugged the fans. So now I've got to bend the radiator out or bend the fans in, something, so that the fans won't be rubbing, so I can at least have the fans working. Because they're trying to work, so me wiring all those wires back up fixed a lot of stuff. So yeah, I'm on the way home right now. It's Tuesday night, so it's actually $2 Tuesday at the skating rink. So we're gonna go skating, family time. So, but I will keep you guys updated whenever I do this coolant temp sensor, so y'all stay tuned. Alright, you guys, so I got my coolant temp sensor swap. Got a nice brand new one on there. Got that new sensor on there. Added just some bottled water. Top it off. It didn't lose very much. The old one fell, so I got to grab it off the ground. But now before it was throwing a code for the coolant temp low input. Now it's throwing a code for coolant temp high input. Now it's just staying maxed out. So I don't know. I think it's still a couple of those wires on the ECU or ECM. But it's blowing heat. I'm just trying to bleed it because I took the sensor out and lost some fluid and got some air in there. Got that brand new 180 thermostat in there from the BVP. and it's running nice and smooth. It's not misfiring at all. The only code it was throwing just a minute ago whenever I ran the code is for the coolant temp sensor. So now it's not even throwing the code for the 5-volt reference signal. So I don't know what happened there. But I don't know. I'm just gonna let this breathe and get the air out of the system. And then that's gonna be it for this video. So like, comment, subscribe, stay tuned for more content. And I'll catch you guys next time.